DC fans are ready.
The DC universe is about to change.
DC fandom is coming.
One day where everything DC comes alive.
The epic global event
that will take you on a journey.
beyond your wildest expectations. Nothing compares to this.
Featuring the biggest stars, the biggest titles, the biggest reveals.
Join me
At DC Fandom 2021.
It's gonna blow people's heads off.
One day.
One show.
For you.
The fans.
Save the date, you won't want to miss it.
DC Fandom. Join us live October 16th, streaming free on dcfandom.com. And be the first to see the new trailer.
Yes, welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Of course, sorry that today's DCEU Daily is a little bit later than usual. I've been cleaning my house. I am absolutely knackered, but the show, of course, must go on. So welcome to Friday's edition of the DCEU Daily. As you just saw there, we got an epic DC Fandom 2021 trailer confirming the trailer of the Batman, and Screen Rant are all over this. DC Fandom 2021 trailer highlights 10 plus movies, TV shows and video games. The trailer for DC Fandom 2021 reveals glimpses at over a dozen films, shows and games from across the DC universe, and plenty of celebrity cameos by Brendan Klein of Screen Rant. DC Fandom 2021 has dropped a new trailer featuring over a dozen different properties and their stars, promising the biggest fan event of the year. DC Fandom is a global live stream event that was created in 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic prevented large crowds from gathering at events like conventions, where the companies typically makes its biggest announcements. Last year's inaugural event included the poster and trailer for the Snyder Cut of Justice League and the reveal of the lineup for James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, which ended up being two of DC's key releases in 2021. This year's event will take place on October the 16th at 10 AM PST, preceded by the DC Kids Fandome at 9 AM. The Kids Fandome will be co-hosted by Nandi Bashul and feature reveals and announcements from the world of DC animation, including the likes of Batwheels and Teen Titans Go 2021. Fandome attendees will also be provided with NFT comic cover collectibles curated by Jim Lee. Today, DC shared a brand new trailer for the event, hyping the year's biggest stars, titles and reveals. It's gonna blow people's heads off, says the Flash star Ezra Miller in the clip. Also featured in the video is just a small sampling of the stars who will be present during the broadcast, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jason Momoa, Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz and Black Adam's Pierce Brosnan. Although there will be reveals aplenty during the event, it has been confirmed that DC Fandom 2021 will also include the debut of the new trailer for Pattinson's The Batman. Check out the full trailer below. Well, we've just seen it, haven't we? Way ahead of you. Among the other titles included in this trailer are the anti-hero film Black Adam, the John Cena Suicide Squad spin-off show Peacemaker, and the CW Superman and Lois. However, even though the trailer features more than a dozen films, TV shows and video games, the teaser is just a drop in the ocean, since DC Fandom 2021 will feature over 90 stars from across the world of DC. Just a few of the other A-listers in attendance will be Jim Lee, Zachary Levi, J.J. Abrams, James Gunn and Linda Carter. There will be representatives from nearly every upcoming ongoing DC property, including huge panels for Peacemaker and Supergirl, which is ending its run on the CW this year. DC Fandom 2021 promises to be a mind-blowing huge event For fans of DC Comics, the DCEU, the Arrowverse and every single other corner of the world of DC, last year's event took place during the height of the coronavirus pandemic, a time when it was especially unclear how many projects would actually be able to film or be released in theatres. However, the event still managed some huge announcements, now with plenty of film, TV and more projects in the pipeline for audiences to get excited about. Things are certainly going to get explosive. So what are you looking forward to on Saturday week? You do not want to miss this event. You do not want to miss my coverage here at Movies TV Mad's event because it's going to be huge. I can actually confirm, and I'm not going to tell you what it is, but a huge announcement at DC Fandome you just did not see coming. There are things at this convention that you did not see in this trailer. No one's going to announce everything. They're not going to let you know everything that they've got up their sleeve, but there are some huge shocks and surprises for DC live action. You are not ready. They've announced huge projects, but now it's time to bring back things that people have been desperate for a very, very long time. It is a huge event. You do not want to miss it. The announcements are going to be huge, and it was a great trailer which really hyped me up for the event yesterday. Peacemaker show footage reveals first look at Vigilante. Wow, I'm so happy that Vigilante is going to be in the Peacemaker series. A trailer released for DC Fandome 2021 reveals new footage of the upcoming Peacemaker show, including a first look at Freddie Stormer as Vigilante by Elliot Griffiths of Screen Rant. A new promotional trailer for DC's Fandome event has revealed a first look at the DC Comics anti-hero Vigilante alongside John Cena in the upcoming HBO Max show Peacemaker. The series, announced as a continuation of Cena's character introduced in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, was also teased in the film's final moment. It will focus on Christopher Smith Peacemaker, an absurdist patriotic super soldier announced earlier this year. The show will bring back Cena along with some of the Argus staff from Gunn's film and introduce several existing DC characters to the live action universe. Very exciting. Freddie Stormer has been cast alongside Cena as fellow DC hero Vigilante. Stormer will play Adrian Chase, a district attorney who fights crime with the law by day before taking the law into his own hands as the expert marksman Vigilante by night. Chase has often been partnered up with Peacemaker in the comics, and his inclusion in the show implies either a fun rivalry or a buddy cop scenario. Stormer, an English actor who appeared in several of the later Harry Potter films as well as the In-Betweeners movie, wow, is one of the several new actors joining the DCEU in this first spin-off effort, and stepped in after Chris Conrad left the role due to creative differences. Oh yeah, he stepped down. People don't normally leave a James Gunn project for creative differences. That's interesting, isn't it? I would guess he didn't really like the comedy element of it. But anyway, as released by DC, the new 60-second trailer features footage of several upcoming DC projects, both on the big screen and on television, including new footage of Matt Reeves' The Batman, Dwayne Johnson teasing a first look at Black Adam, and many more. One of several notable new shots from the Peacemaker series shows Cena's character alongside Vigilante, both in action in the woods, practicing their shooting skills. We don't get a look at Stormer as Chase unmasked here, but the costume is instantly recognizable for comics fans. Check out the full trailer below. Vigilante is no stranger to the live-action realm, and many rumours indicated Idris Elba was set to play Chase in The Suicide Squad before producers chose the character of Bloodsport instead. Adrian Chase has also featured on TV before and was introduced in Arrow Season 5, played by Josh Segarra. The character was eventually revealed to be Prometheus, masquerading as the anti-hero. Peacemaker's version of Vigilante looks to be a lot more comic accurate, especially in regards to the costume, complete with his trademark bright visor and black black, white and blue tactical suit. Vigilante matches the accurate aesthetic established in recent Suicide Squad film. The new footage proves that Vigilante and Peacemaker will find themselves working side by side, possibly on a secret mission for Argus, as the two are seen high-fiving each other in the trailer. A full clip from the Peacemaker series released earlier this week showing some of the humorous referential tone the show will carry, as well as a look at the new updated logo. While the main plot of the series remains unknown, fans can expect to find out more about what mission Peacemaker and Vigilante will embark on during the DC Fandom event on October 16th. Very interesting project, because James Gunn has teased that there's lots of connections and links to the outer DCEU, which means we could have some DCEU crossovers in this movie, in this series, should I say. So that's really, really awesome. Movies are not about huge box office. It's whether you remember them or not, and they have a special place in your heart. And Warner Brothers captured my attention as a young boy because their films always stuck in my memories. They always mostly used auteurs, and Denis Villeneuve is a great auteur, and even though he was angry about the day and date release, he will continue being a Warner Brothers man because they have faith in him, give him the money and let him make his movies. Denis Villeneuve debunks rumour WB approached him to direct the Batman. Denis Villeneuve reveals that Warner Brothers never approached him to direct the Batman, likely due to his busy schedule, completing production on June by Ryan Northrop of Screen Rant. Denis Villeneuve reveals he was not approached to direct the upcoming Robert Pattinson-led The Batman, with an array of critically acclaimed films on his resume, including Sicario, Prisoners, Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. The French-Canadian filmmaker is set to premiere his latest epic, June, later this month. You want to go and see June because it's a fantastic movie. I have had the privilege of seeing this movie, and it's one of the best, and you know, really happy because as a Warner Brothers stan, and Dennis is going to get more Dune movies as well. And we'll read another article after this about, actually he's not a big superhero fan, but there is one superhero movie he would like to make. We'll delve into that a little bit later. The film, which has already garnered mostly positive reviews, seems to be set to reaffirm Villeneuve's reputation as one of the most innovative directors working today. The Batman, which will be helmed by a Planet of the Apes trilogy director, Matt Reeves. Actually, Matt Reeves only directed the second and third one. He didn't do the whole trilogy. Is not due to release until next year and is already one of 2022's most anticipated films, starring Robert Pattinson as the titular superhero alongside Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Paul Dano as the Riddler, Colin Farrell as Penguin, and Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. The Batman looks to be a darker, more atmospheric take on the source material, especially when compared to Christopher Nolan's more grounded Dark Knight trilogy. While one trailer has already been released for the film, fans will get another look at the Batman during DC Fandom next week. In a new interview clip with Josh Horowitz, who hosts the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast, Villeneuve reveals that he was not one of the directors approached to helm the Batman. Horowitz suggests that due to Villeneuve's successful track record with Warner Brothers, there was talk that the studio had him in mind for the upcoming Caped Crusader film. The director, however, denies the rumours, believing the studio already knew he'd be too busy to take on the DCEU film. To be honest with you, sometimes I have a very bad memory, so sometimes I don't recall, but I don't remember being approached for the Batman. They probably knew that I was deeply busy doing Dune. Given Villeneuve's good relationship with Warner Brothers, it would make sense that his absence from the Batman shortlist was due to his commitments on Dune. In the same clip from a Horowitz interview, Villeneuve went on to explain that Batman is actually the only superhero he can relate to, so the rumours got as close to truth as they could have. While the Batman is certainly in good hands with Matt Reeves, one can't help but wonder what Villeneuve would have brought to the table had he taken the project instead. I tell you what though, don't write him off doing Batman. Don't write him off. Considering Villeneuve's penchant for mature themes and more serious subject matter, it's no surprise he relates the most to Batman. Excuse me. Villeneuve has proven himself capable of telling more grounded stories like Prisoners and Sicario, but he has also showcased his ability to tackle science fiction material with the likes of Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival, which is a great movie. It would be interesting to see Villeneuve's specific filmmaking skills, like his ability to create very tactile, moody and visually interesting worlds, be put to the use on a Batman film. But unfortunately it seems it was never in the cards. June releases in the US on October 22, while October 22nd should I say, while Reeves the Batman is scheduled for March 4th, 2022. Very, very exciting. Yeah, October the 22nd of this year, June is in America, gets released, and obviously the Batman gets released March the 4th, 2022. Listen, if it was announced that this guy, Denis Villeneuve, was doing a Batman movie or any DC movie, the internet would literally break. We may not be able to fix it again, but there's another article about this which I'm going to read to you because I think there's a possibility. Batman is the only superhero June director, let's say that again, Batman is the only superhero June director can relate to. June director Denis Villeneuve says Batman is the only superhero he can relate to, specifically mentioning the 1989 comic book Arkham Asylum, wow, by Adam Benz of Screen Rant. Batman is the only superhero June director Denis Villeneuve can relate to. The visionary director has a collection of critically acclaimed films to his name, including Prisoners, Sicario and Arrival, though many expected his 2017 film Blade Runner 2049 to be his first real blockbuster. The sequel to the 1982 classic was a critical success, but also a notorious box office bomb. We don't care, it's a great movie. Luckily, Villeneuve got another chance at helming a tentpole film, an adaptation of Frank Herbert's seminal science fiction novel from 1965, June. Villeneuve is the second director to complete a film adaptation of the best-selling book after David Lynch's Dune from 1984, starring Carl MacLachlan in the lead role. Villeneuve's version already seems to be faring better than Lynch's, which bombed at the box office after Universal famously meddled with the final cut. While its October the 22nd release date in the US is still a few weeks away, the 2021 June has been putting up strong numbers during its early screenings in international markets. In the meantime, its director has been making the press rounds. Denis Villeneuve recently stopped by the Happy Sad Confused podcast hosted by Josh Horowitz to discuss all things Dune, while also delving into a few other topics as well such Batman being the only superhero he can relate to, though he didn't specifically specify what parts of the character he emphasizes with. Read what Villeneuve had to say below. Batman would be probably the only character that I would relate to from what I read. Like Arkham Asylum, a book like that I got in contact with when I was an adult. It's for me the character that I could connect to. The topic came up after Horowitz asked Villeneuve about rumours from 2017 that he was on the shortlist to helm the Batman film. Given his close rapport with Warner Brothers, however, he doesn't remember if he was ever approached about the job that eventually went to Planet of the Apes director Matt Reeves. While Villeneuve recently made way for his criticism of Marvel movies, he did show some marginal interest in making DC films, specifically mentioning the Arkham Asylum comic book. I'd love for him to do that, that would be great. Known under its full title Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, the 1989 comic book chronicles Batman's attempts to quell a riot that breaks out in the titular psychiatric hospital, eventually discovering the asylum's mysterious history. Villeneuve's resume includes an array of dark psychological thrillers, and an adaptation of Arkham Asylum would fit in perfectly among them. Since the first part of his June adaptation is shaping up to be a huge hit, if Villeneuve is ever interested in a Batman movie later on down the line, Warner Brothers would be smart to oblige him, absolutely would be. Now listen to me, this is the beauty of the multiverse. We can have multiple versions of Batman, and he could actually direct Ben Affleck's movie. Because I know Ben wanted to write and direct it, but maybe Ben may deem that it's too much for him to do all the work. And maybe if we did make the Batfleck movie, because there's a lot of that set in Arkham, because I think Ben Affleck's Batfleck actually ends up in Arkham when Deathstroke stitches him up. So I think that if Ben can't direct it, doesn't feel he can, and he's already written the story, this is a kind of interesting way of delving into Arkham. But anyhow, I would absolutely love Dennis to write, direct, and not star in, obviously he's not an actor, but write and direct an Arkham movie based on this Arkham Asylum comic book. That would be awesome. Like you know, as I say, with the multiverse strategy, that's the beauty of the concept. You know, anyone can make anything they want. We want so many auteurs to be making DC projects because they're the ones with a vision. And you know, I think the future, you know, I'll tell you what I think Warner Brothers should have done after Man of Steel and BVS got so much criticism. They should have come out and backed their director and said, listen, you know, this is Zack's vision. We want directors with a definite vision of their own. So we're proud of the movie, we're proud of him, whatever it makes or doesn't make, it's fine. This is a movie that people are enjoying, there's a segment of the audience that are enjoying it, and that's the end of it. What they shouldn't have done is what they did. So we want auteurs in the future, as many as possible, working on DC live action. Star Trek's Anson Mount wants to star in a darker Green Lantern movie. I would love that. I love Anson, he's great. Star Trek star Anson Mount opens up about his desires to star in a darker live-action Green Lantern movie after the comedic Ryan Reynolds film by Grant Hermans of Screen Rant. Star Trek star Anson Mount opens up about his desires to star in a darker live-action Green Lantern movie after the comedic Ryan Reynolds film originally created by Martin Nodell under the alter ego of Alan Scott. The DC Comics hero would find more popularity with the reinvented Hal Jordan from John Broome and Gil Kane, a former combat pilot turned test pilot who is chosen by the iconic Power Ring to take over the mantle of Green Lantern from the dying alien Abin Zur. The mantle would be passed on to a number of other people, some of whom include Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart, Kyle Rayner, Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz. Following numerous animated and live-action TV appearances, Green Lantern would make his cinematic debut with the 2011 eponymous film starring Ryan Reynolds in the titular role. The film would largely underperform at the box office and score largely negative reviews from critics, squashing all sequel plans and opening the possibility of a reboot in the DC Extended Universe. While multiple projects around the character are currently in the works, including the Arrowverse's John Diggle taking up the mantle, a DCEU set Green Lantern Corps movie and HBO Max series with Scott Gardner, Cruz and Baz, there is one star hoping to get in on the cosmic fun at some point in the future. In an exclusive interview with Screen Rant to discuss the animated Injustice movie, Mount opened up about his thoughts on a potential live-action DC hero role. The Star Trek actor revealed that he would like to take on the Green Lantern and expressed his confusion over the tonal decisions made for the Reynolds film. See what Mount said below. Well, they already did Green Lantern, so I'm not sure I'm going to get to do that, but I have always marvelled at why that project was in development for so long, and I did always wonder why it was assumed that it should be a comedy. I'm not sure, I quite get that. It's a much more robust, at times darker story than that. Of the many targets for critic in Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern film, its tone is certainly one not reflected on often, but was a problem for the film. Critics commended Reynolds for his attempts to infuse humour and heart into the film. Even if the film's attempts at serious material didn't quite match its leading man, Mount's thoughts on exploring a darker side of Green Lantern is certainly a good indication of his passion for the character, as well as highlight an era that would be new to explore on screen. Given the range of projects and talent in the works for the Green Lantern property, there is certainly plenty of room to dive into some of the more dramatic areas of the hero's comics. With progress on the DCEU's Green Lantern Corps movie currently unknown outside of a 2022-23 release window and sharing ties to the HBO Max series, the door is also open for Mount to don the mantle of one of the Lanterns from the past. In the meantime, audiences can look forward to Mount's portrayal of Batman in Injustice when it hits shelves on 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray, DVD and digital platforms on October the 10th, and I can't wait. What's the date today? I think it's 8th of October. I was just looking at my device there. Yes, I can't wait to see Injustice, but I think Anson is absolutely correct here as well. Why does everything have to be comedic in superhero films? I know the MCU is very successful at what it does. Now, don't forget that I think that the Green Lantern film came out in 2011, did it? I think it was just after the MCU started. Listen, I think there are lots of darker material in the Green Lantern universe, and I think it's great, and I can't wait to see the series, and I can't wait to see what they do with the movie. So I think, you know, everything shouldn't be light and funny, and if the visionaries, if the people in the creative chair has a vision, a darker vision for Green Lantern, my opinion is just do it. Go for it. Give us something amazing. Because Green Lantern is DC's Star Wars, and it has so much potential, and I can't wait for someone to finally give us a good take on that universe. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Like, share, subscribe. Please comment down below. Please hit the little notification bell so you never miss this perfection. Until tomorrow, when I'll be back with even more DCEU Daily, I will see you again soon. Until then, goodbye.